Okay, so from OneDrive, you're going to go into this class folder, into Excel Chapter 4. And open RP Budget. RP Budget. I am starting on page 102 in your textbook in Excel Chapter 4, so if you want to follow along on those steps, you can. Now there are some times that I don't follow the steps exactly. I kind of combine the steps, but we will do everything that are in these projects. So page 102 in Excel Chapter 4. That's the green section. Okay, go ahead and open this RP Budgets in Excel. And when it opens as a read-only file, so you need to go to Save As, and step number 2 on page 102 tells you the file name. I will put that file name in here so you can see it. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it up there on the screen, but make sure you save it in the folder you have shared with me so that I can see it. This class is not so bad. My morning class, I have a lot of students who are either not doing the work or they're not saving it into the correct location. So this is very important. Make sure you are inside of the folder when you're saving it. You're saving it into the folder that you have already created and shared with me. You don't have to share it again. You just need to make sure your file is saved there. So you'll navigate to that location. It should show right up to your OneDrive when you go to Save As and you've selected OneDrive Pratt Community College. Your folder should show up right here, and you double click on that folder. You need to go inside that folder to save it. And then here's the file name. EL1-C4-P1-RP budget. I guess it shows up pretty good on this screen. Yes? Okay. From OneDrive, that RP budget. Okay, okay. Okay, then. And then I think to activate your web registers just like that. I thought you were still having it. Okay, click close. It's because this word is not activated. Yeah, and I don't know. Close that. And I believe it's because this is not activated, that I can't activate that, or someone has to. So you could go to the different. Is anyone else having an issue? But yours doesn't have that red bar. I was thinking last time. Yeah. Is anyone else having troubles with that? Okay, let me make a note of that so that I remember to send them. I'll get that sent to the computer center, so hopefully Wednesday that'll work. Okay, so you should have that saved. Now we can start working in it. We are going to change the margins and then center our worksheet horizontally and vertically on our page. Now I have mine magnified a little bit so you can see it. Can you see the left? That's pretty good. So this is Real Photography's yearly budget. And the book tells us that we need to start by inserting some formulas. I want you to make cell, sorry, I just need to move this little gadget out of the way here. I want you to make cell, and maybe cell N5, the active cell, by clicking in it one time. And we're going to put a sum function in here. I'm not going to cover how to do that because we've done it before several times. You choose the method that works for you. We're adding up the row of numbers for the sublet rent. You should end up with $13,200. By the way, when I grade these, I always look to make sure there's a formula in here. If you have just typed a number, because oftentimes the assignment will tell you what the total should be, and if you only type the number in there, it's incorrect because it needs to have a formula, and I look for that. So now fill this cell N5, fill it down all the way through row 10. Now click on cell N5 and format it with the $sign and decrease your decimal place 2 times. As soon as I select a $sign, I got the number signs in there, but if I select decrease decimals right here 2 times, then my number fits. When you see these hyphens in a cell or these dashes, like in cell B10, it just means there's a 0 in here. So these have been pre-formatted for us, and they're formatted with the accounting style, and the accounting method says when we have a 0, we have a line. That means 0. So when you see that, it's not because you need to do something, it just means there is no information in that cell. It is a 0. Okay, now we're gonna add our total income row, row 11. So we're gonna do that all at once. Select cell B11, and drag all the way through in 11 and click your auto sum, and it will instantly put your formulas in there and total each column. And we can get away with that because our formula is correct. If I were to look at this one and click in it, I could see it's totaling the right information. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with column N in our expenses and our total expenses in row 20. So go ahead and put your formulas in here now and make sure you format cell N14 with the accounting and decrease decimal place 2 times. We don't have any numbers in our profit row yet because that's a different formula. That's not a sum. And I have no idea. I believe I'm on page 103, step E, I think is where we're getting ready to start. So we have all of our formulas for our totals, our total column, our total rows. Now we're going to figure our profit. So if I'm a business and this photography business, let's say that it's mine. This is the income that I earned in the month of January. I earned $8,835, but I had some expenses of $7,330. So how would I figure my profit? Somebody just tell me, just in words, what would I do? Subtract what? Yes, I would subtract my expenses from my income. So in cell B21, all formulas start with what? Equal sign. Go ahead and type your equal sign. Click in your total income cell for the month of January, which is cell B11. You can type it, but the point and click method is a good method to use because as we use it more and more, it will start to make a little more sense. So B11 minus, so just type your minus. I use the one on the keypad, but you can use the minus sign that's 2 spaces from your backspace, and then there's no shift there. It's just that key. Minus cell B20, so click in cell B20, which are the total expenses for the month of January. So B11 minus B20. Now, you can go ahead and press enter. I'm just going to walk you through this for a minute. There's no absolute value in these cells because we want these cells to change. As we use our fill handle to drag across, we want our formula to change so that then the formula becomes C11 minus C20, D11 minus D20, E, and so on and so forth. We want those, they're called relative references. We want those cell references to change. So I'm going to press enter, and then I'm going to use my fill handle. I'm going to go back to cell B21, use my fill handle, and drag that formula and copy it all the way across to column N. Now, some of you are probably wondering, why are there some numbers with parentheses? And in the accounting method, that means that these are negative numbers. So for the month of February, we had a loss of $2,395. We spent more money than we earned. We sometimes call that in the red. And in the days of old, when we had real adding machines with tape, our negative numbers would show up in red. So that's how that came to be. When you see the parentheses, know it's a negative number. Now, over the course of the year, in our total column, we did earn a profit. So our total income minus our total expenses, we did earn a profit, made up for these losses that we had in a couple of months, 5 months to be exact. Okay, now we're going to change the margins and we're going to center our worksheet horizontally and vertically. So click the Page Layout tab. We could do those things right here, and I'm going to stray it from the book just a little bit. So if you're following the book, we do end up in the same place. But in this page setup gallery, you have the expand button, the more, in the bottom right-hand corner. If you click on that, your page setup dialog box will show up. And in that dialog box, we have 4 tabs to choose from. We can do a lot of things on these 4 tabs. So we're going to work in every single tab before we close out of it. The book tells us to go to margins, custom margins, same place. We end up at the same place, only the margins tab is selected first. So see how we can choose either of these tabs. Okay, so you're on the page tab. The book, and I'm straying from the book because I've already done this and I know what options they want us to change. We're going to change on the page tab, we're going to change to landscape orientation. So this is portrait. This is landscape. So we want our spreadsheet, if we were to print it, to be on landscape view. So choose landscape. We want our paper size where it says letter. We want that to be legal. So click on your drop down arrow and choose legal. Now click on the margins tab at the top of this dialog box. The book tells us we should change our top margin to 3.5. Yep, 3.5. So we could click that little arrow button. I hear a lot of those. Or we could select it and just type 3.5. Bottom margin is going to be 1.5. We're not going to change our left and right margins, just our top margin and our bottom margin. The book also tells us we're going to center our pages horizontally and vertically. So we need to check the horizontal box Notice this little grid on the inside. I wish I could reach that because I would make a note of it. It's centered from the left margin to the right margin. It's centered that inside of here. Now, when we choose vertically, it does not center from the top of the page to the bottom of the page this way. What it does is from the top margin to the bottom margin. So when you look at this, it's going to look a little strange because we made this huge top margin about this big. So our table will sit right down here somewhere when we go to look at it. It centers it between the margins, not the page. Sometimes we want to use that and sometimes we don't. Now click on the header footer tab. And we all know about headers and footers. We did them in Word. They look just a tad bit different in Excel. Click the custom header link. We can insert things very easily. The first option is just to format whatever text we have put in here. The second little tab here, little link, is to insert a page number. The next one is a number of pages. So like page 1 of 4. Page 2 of 4. The third one is the date. The fourth one is the time. This is the entire path. If I wanted you to insert the path so I could see where it is saved, I would have you choose this option. The one that looks like a little spreadsheet is the file name. I used to have my students print with these because we didn't upload to OneDrive, and I wanted to make sure they were saving things correctly with the correct name. So I would have them insert these into their footer. The next one is the sheet name. Right now it's called sheet 1 right here. But if we wanted to insert that, we would click it. And then of course we could insert a picture. We're gonna tab over to the center section. So press tab so your blinking cursor is in the center. By the way, did everyone's computer open up the header dialog box like this? I've had on occasion a couple that open differently. Okay. That's good. And we're going to just click the page number. Insert page number. The very first page number option. It looks a little weird. It's like a function inside of your footer. Click OK. Now choose Custom Footer. And tab to the very last section, the right section, and type your name. Just so I can show you what it's going to look like. And click OK. Now there are some previews. In the header area, you can see the little preview of the page number. In the footer area, you can see the preview of your name. And just like in Word, we could choose different odd and even pages and different first page. We're not going to, but you can. We could go and look at the print preview. We're not going to, otherwise it takes our page setup dialog box away. We're going to now click on the Sheet tab. Actually, we shouldn't. We should probably wait. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm afraid this morning this did not work the way we wanted it to, and I have a feeling if I go out of order, we'll end up with something very strange. So we'll wait and come back to that, and we'll test it and see if it works. Go ahead and click this link right here that says Print Preview. And you can see how when I said it does not center vertically from the top of the page to the bottom, it goes from the margin. See how it's kind of pushed down towards the bottom? We told it to do that. And that's why it looks that way. We have 2 pages. So if we click this right arrow in Print Preview, we now have page 2, and the second part of our table shows up on the second page. We're going to escape out of Print Preview. You can press Escape, or you can just click this left arrow up here in the upper left-hand corner, and it takes us back to our document. Now, initially, Excel did not show us our page breaks, but now that we've gone to Print Preview, you see the dotted lines. Those are our page breaks. Those are put in there automatically. We didn't place those in there, but we can. So let me find out where I would be if I followed along in the book. Page 106. We're going to actually remove the horizontal and vertical printing options before we insert the page breaks. In step number 2, or step 3, it tells us to remove those checks. So on page layout, we can go back to our page setup gallery and click the expand button. Choose margins, the margins tab, and deselect horizontally and vertically. And click OK. We didn't see anything happen right here. Couple of views I want to show you. In the green status bar at the bottom of the spreadsheet, you have normal view on the right-hand side, normal view, that's the one we're looking at. Then we have a page layout view. Go ahead and select that. It will show how this is going to look if we were to go ahead and print without going to print preview. It will show you this footer. And I asked you earlier if yours opened strange. I have had computers, student computers, when we go to insert header or footer, it actually opens in this view. And then you could just insert your footers and header right here. So this is the footer, and I could have just tabbed right over here and typed my name. And all of those little insert tabs are right up here. So if by chance yours does open differently than I just showed you earlier, you can still insert all of these things. If we needed to go to the header on this page, I could click page number and it would give me the same thing. It would do the same thing that we already did. I just want you to be aware that that may happen. It hasn't happened today in either class, and that's good, but I have had it happen in other classes. Okay, the last view is this page break preview. Go ahead and click on that. You can see these page breaks that are in this worksheet, and this blue dotted line is the one page break that we currently have. We are going to insert another page break. We do not have to be in page break view to do that. We can be in normal view. So I'm going to stay in page break view because I'm already here, but I do want you to know you can do this in normal view as well. I want you to click on column J. So click the actual letter for the column header J. All page breaks will go to the left of whatever you have selected, and those are vertical page breaks. Horizontal page breaks will go above whatever you have selected. So it's just like when we inserted rows and columns, it works the same way. So we've selected column J, click on your page layout tab, and you have in the page setup gallery, it says breaks. Click on that drop down arrow and choose insert page break. Now deselect, click in a blank cell somewhere. You'll see this solid blue line that just showed up. Now all of a sudden we have 4 pages. This is page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. If you're in normal view, that line shows up as a solid line as well. That means that we added that page break, and this is the program added this page break. It's dotted. I'm going to go back to this view so we can see it. So go back. I want all of you to be in page break view. We actually want to move this page break. So now we've inserted it and we want it to be in a different place. So if you move your mouse over it, you get a double-headed arrow. Now click and hold down your mouse and drag it to the left so that it's between columns G and H. We want it to actually be between June and July, the months June and July. And that's G and H. So go ahead and drop it. So even though that page break was put in there, we can move it to wherever we need it to be. Okay, go ahead and choose normal view. And you guys can see that solid line. Well, this computer shows it. My screen across the street wouldn't show that solid line. It just kind of disappeared in the setting, even though it was on my screen. Does everyone have that solid line between G and H and the dotted line between 12 and 13? So we have 4 pages. So let's go to print preview real quick and take a look at how this is going to print. So go to File, Print. Here's our first page. We have January through June, and we've got the income. Now it just completely truncates this title, and that's normal. Page 2 shows us our expenses, but we do not have any column headings. So we would have to remember that this is January through June. Then our next page, 3, actually has our column headings, but doesn't have our row headings. So is this income or are these expenses? Now, some common sense will tell us it's income because of our little heading here. But if this was a great, huge worksheet and we're working, we may not know that. And then page 4 is missing both. My reason for showing you this is because we are supposed to be able to add those. We're supposed to be able to tell Excel that we can print those on all of the pages. However, across the street, this did not work. It worked on 1 or 2 computers. I ended up with 10 pages. I'm not sure how. And we followed steps exactly, and then we undid it, and the next time we do it, it did something different. So I'm not guaranteeing that this would work, and I've actually cut this step out of the assignment. This is very useful. It's really nice to be able to use it when it works, but it's not allowing us to really select the information that we need to select. So we're going to try it. I want you to click on the Page Layout tab and choose Print Titles. In the Page Setup Gallery, it says Print Titles. It once again opens this Page Setup dialog box, and we're on that Sheet tab. I am on page 108, but I'm kind of combining a couple of projects. So the project 1D is the columns to repeat at left, and then column 1E actually has the rows to repeat at top. That we will do as well. So we're going to start with the project 1D. So we selected the Page Layout tab. We clicked the Print Titles button. In the columns to repeat at left, click in this area and just type A1 through A21. And when you type the through, it's a colon. So anytime you're in Excel, and we're talking about selecting a range of cells, you use the colon. It's the shift semicolon. So A1 through A21. We're going to go ahead and click OK. Then we're going to go look at that in Print Preview. Page 1 doesn't change ever. It will always stay the same. And page 3, I think. Page 2 should look a little different, and mine looks the same. Page 3. Oh, it's page 3 that looks different, and it does look different. My page 3, it worked over here. Yay. See my income rows show up, my row titles for income. We didn't know before if this was income or if they were expenses. But one thing you're also going to notice is up here how it took the logo from this cell, like in A1, and it truncated it with the rest of the logo. I would never count off for that, by the way. I would if you were printing the entire worksheet on one page and you truncated something. But when you're doing this, you don't have control over that. It does that automatically. And then page 4 should have our expenses over here on the side. And I only have 4 pages. Does anyone else have something different? Because we saw it all. It started adding pages to people's page breaks. It started doubling these. Okay, so far it's working. I'm going to hope that it continues to work. Go ahead and click your left arrow to escape out of Print Preview. And we're going to move down to the Project 1E. We're going to choose the Scale to Fit option so that we can fit data on one page. I used to use this when students would turn assignments in, we'd print, and I would have them print their worksheet to 1 page, and we would use this scale to print option. So in the scale to fit area where it says width, click on the drop down arrow next to automatic, and choose 1 page. Now we would go look at print preview. You'll notice your little page breaks. The 1 page break disappeared. Let's go to File, go back to print preview. So it forced the width onto 1 page. Remember we had put a page break in there? So it took that page break away and it forced all of these columns to fit on 1 page. And sometimes that's really nice, but also sometimes you can do that and they're microscopic. I have some that I printed off that I used for grading, and the kids would always say, how in the world can you read that? You just get really good at it after a while. But if this was a professional, it might be different. But I want you to know that that option is there. That option is also right here when you go to File Print. Right here it says fit all columns on 1 page. Same thing. You can do it right here. Fit all columns on 1 page. We could choose to fit all rows on 1 page, or we could say fit sheet on 1 page. Let's choose that option where it says fit sheet. I'm standing here swearing in class, and I like Excel. Fit sheet on 1 page. Notice how much smaller it got? We changed our margins, which is why. If our margins were not 3.5, thank you, then this would be a much bigger. But see how small that is? That's what happens when you fit all your columns and all your rows on 1 page. Click this drop down arrow again and say no scaling. We're going to go back to normal, so we're back to the 4 pages. And in this area, we're going to click this page setup link. Go ahead and click that. It takes us back to this dialog box we've been looking at. So there are a lot of ways to get to that page setup dialog box. And now we're going to change these margins again. Click on the Margins tab. The top margin should still be 3.5. The left margin is going to be 0.3. 0.3. Please be aware that the printer, when you're printing, be aware of your printer, because a lot of printers actually shave off 1/4 of an inch. So you don't ever want to be less than 0.25. There are some printers, very professional printers, that will print clear to the edge of the page, but not most of the ones that we can purchase. And the right is also 0.3. Now I want you to click on that Sheet tab again. Oh, it's not going to let us do it from here. Go ahead and click OK. Notice it shoved your My Page 1 all the way over to this little 0.3 inch gap. Okay, go ahead and escape out of Print Preview. We're going to go back to the Page Layout tab, Page Setup Gallery, Print Titles. We're going to delete. They want us to delete this columns to repeat at left. See how it changed? We had typed A1 through A21, and it changed it so that all of column A is what showed up in our columns. But we're going to select that and delete it. And the book is telling us to, in the rows to repeat at top, we're going to select A3 through N3. So we're going to actually type that, A3 through N3. because we want our rows, January through total, to appear at the top. So it's A3 through N3. We're on the sheet tab under rows to repeat at top. A3 through N3. Go ahead and click OK. Go to File, Print Preview. Okay. A3 through N3. By the way, on those rows, A or N, they do not have to be capitalized. If you type them in lowercase, it doesn't affect anything. They're not case sensitive, just so you're aware of that. I always capitalize them, and the book always shows them in all caps, but it's not necessary. So if you type it lowercase, you're fine. So A3 through N3. Go ahead and click OK. Go to File, Print, so we can look to see the changes. We should have January, February, March, April, May, June show up on page 2, and we do. Page 3 should just look like this. Page 4, July through total should show up, and it does. We should be able to put all of this on here. We should be able to have our columns show and our rows, and maybe that's where we went wrong. In the last class, I had them do it all at once, but we're not going to change it here. I just want you to be aware that it's not always going to work the way we want it to. Okay, go ahead and escape out of your print preview. In Excel, we can insert a background picture. That picture does not print, but we can insert one. So go ahead on the Page Layout tab in the Page Setup Gallery, click Background. You can insert a background picture from files that you have. So maybe you have a company logo you want to be placed on this page, or you can do an image search and place an image in here, like clip art. We're not going to do that because you know how that works. It works the same as it does in Word. It will appear behind all of your table information, and it will only show up on your screen. Like I said, it will not print. It would, if you saved it as a web version, the image would be there. But we're going to skip doing that. I just want you to know that it is there as an option. Okay, to get our grid lines and our row and column headings to appear, we simply put a check mark. We're on the Page Layout tab in the Sheet Options Gallery. Put a check mark where it says Print for grid lines, and then Print for the headings. Now go to File, Print, and you'll see what just changed. Now, I have used this before, like if I take a spreadsheet and I'm moving it into Word, and I want people to understand that these are my columns and these are my rows, I've used this. This would print with your column headers and your row headers, and also these grid lines that are kind of looking like dashes here would actually print. So this is actually called WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. So what we see in print preview is what we get when it prints. And on each page, we would have column headers and row headers. And we can, that's a toggle, we can turn it on and off. So let's escape from print preview. We could turn that off by simply deselecting the print in grid lines and deselecting the print in headings. I have had students who say, where are my column headings? And it's because the view, headings view has been deselected. And see how all your row and column headings disappear? So go ahead and turn that back on because we need those when we're working in Excel. I am skipping printing specific areas. In the book, it talks about naming an area. I'm going to show you how, if we were going to print, how you could print just a specified area. I am skipping. We're not going to really be doing printing because we're not printing. We upload everything to OneDrive. So that's the reason I'm skimming over some of this. But when you're working on your own, you might want to only print part of this. So go ahead and select cells A3 through G21. Maybe we only want the 6 months worth of data from January through June. Now go to File, Print, and in the settings where it says Print Active Sheets, we would click on the drop-down arrow and choose Print Selection. And it's the same as if we're in Word, the same as if we're on the internet. All of those things remain the same. So what you see right here is all that would print. Our second page here would print a tiny bit of data. If this happened, this is where I would force that, where I would choose this scaling, and I would say fit sheet on one page, because it kind of looks foolish to have just my total expenses and profit to show up on a second page. So I would say fit sheet on one page so that it would all fit. Okay, go ahead and escape out of Print Preview. That is where we're stopping for the day. And the reason is because I'm trying to keep you and the other class at the same place. So it benefits you. Sometimes it benefits them. So on page 134, assessment 2 is what you're going to work on. And there are some steps that you're going to skip. Let me get that assignment moved over into your class. And then I'll explain to you. Okay, so here is the assignment. It is saved in your A assignments folder. Excel chapter 4, assessment number 2, page 134. You are skipping step 6. Step 6 is where you are specifying that the column titles are to print on each page. You're not doing that. You're also going to skip steps 11 and 12, which is setting a print area and clearing the print area, because you're not printing and I won't see any of that. So go ahead and skip steps 11 and 12, but you're going to do the rest of that assessment. You add some formulas, you open a file, you add some formulas, you insert a page break, you put in a header and a footer, and then you upload it to OneDrive. If you are struggling uploading to OneDrive, making sure it's in the right folder, please talk to me. This class is not as struggling as much with that, but please come and talk to me so that you can make sure you're not getting zeros on those assignments simply because you're putting them in the wrong place. Okay, now let me check and make sure, double check that that assignment's where it's supposed to be. There. Yes. Okay, and that concludes class. I guess you're not out too terribly early. And now I can stop this video.